This is Joel Webbon. He's a televangelist, Christian nationalist, a hate preacher, self-avowed Christian nationalist, by the way. He identifies that way. He says he wants to take women's right to vote away. And he explains that it's not because he thinks they're stupid or anything. He just doesn't think they deserve the right to vote, basically. Listen to this one. This is from early November 2024.
We currently live at a wicked time with wicked rulers who are dominated by feminism and hate men. And so they changed the rule book. So what you're doing is not exercising your authority over men, but what we're doing is having to get creative with the wicked landscape, and you're ensuring that I have my full authority as a citizen, and that my authority, what the wicked rulers wanted to do is they wanted to strip away half of a man's authority, and what you're doing is you're conceding it back to me by voting in line with the decision that I make for our family. So,
wow, dude is explaining why he's okay with his wife voting, I guess, is what he's laying down. Satan, I guess. Satan is trying to strip away a man's authority. And what does the man have authority over? The woman, of course. Oh my God, bro. This is absolutely insane. He elaborates in this next clip.
Just so the women don't feel like we're picking on them, one, we think we should repeal the 19th because we
19th Amendment, right to vote, basically women's suffrage. The right to vote for other people too, I believe. 19th Amendment text. It's pretty short. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. So it's just women's right to vote, basically. 19th Amendment.
Just so the women don't feel like we're picking on them, one, we think we should repeal the 19th because we love God and because we love women.
Yes.
But beyond,
he wants to take your right to vote away because he loves you, you see. Yeah.
That it's more than just, and I know you'll agree with this, repealing the 19th. It's universal suffrage is not God's design. So there's a lot of men who shouldn't be voting either.
Is democracy God's design at all? I thought the Israelites historically were kind of dictatorships, weren't they?
There's
right.
Like you and I would both agree. You need to be a head of household. That means
so single men can't vote then.
That means there's people under you, a man who is under authority and in authority. You're representing someone, representative government. I think you need
representative government. So as a man, you represent your family. And what, does your family vote for who you're supposed to vote for? Is that what you're telling me? No, of course not. He's not representing the family. He's representing himself, and they're stripping the family's rights. That's what's happening. My God.
To have a stake in the country as it presently lies, but also a stake in the future.
So you have to have children and you have to own property.
So that's why marriage is important, because it indicates childbearing and these kinds of things, future generations, a stake in the country, also in terms of ownership, land owning males.
There you go.
There's a whole lot of, it's not just women can't vote because they're too dumb to vote. That's not the position.
I mean, that's basically what he laid out. And no, to be fair, he said that he thinks that God doesn't want democracy effectively, right? That's why. But aside from that, he also does think that women are too dumb to vote. I don't have the clip. I looked for it. I cannot find it. But I remember watching a clip with him saying, women are like children. They shouldn't vote because they're like children. So I don't know what else to call that.
That's not the position. That's not what either of us are articulating. We're saying,
well, I mean, if you don't think they're idiots, then I guess it's okay to strip their rights away, huh?
No,
right.
Leaders should vote, and God has given it to men to be leaders, and certain men have abdicated that leadership, and therefore they should not have the right to vote either. So,
yeah, he doesn't like democracy. He's talked about it, actually. He said he wants an aristocracy, basically a very small group of men only, directing the country, telling people what to do, writing the laws, just a small group, and basically nobody else having any say in anything at all. That's effectively a dictatorship. I mean, this dude is not tiny either. He's pretty well known. Listen to this one. This one is from mid-August 2024. This lays it out pretty clearly.
Why I have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people, and who
So he wants more democracy then, right? He wants to expand it so it's not just some people, but it's everybody? Is that the complaint?
some people, and who are those people? Non-elected officials.
Yeah.
Like what?
Non-elected? Oh, so he's saying, okay, hang on. So wow, this is like Inception level. He's saying you should be elected to be able to elect somebody, right? How would that work? Like the electors can't be elected to elect, can they? How many levels deep do you want to go with this?
Democracy, what it gives, lends its strength to, is instead of having elected officials that have power, is a raw universal, because that's what we have is a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote.
No, I mean, there are limitations on it. Some felons aren't allowed to vote in some states. Children aren't allowed to vote, so on and so forth. There are limits. It's not universal.
Right. Everyone. And just for the record, yeah, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian, and that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, that you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So it's not just elevating a male vote, but it's elevating the household vote. We're saying that that society, if you break it down to the
All right. Okay. So he's saying, I thought for sure he's going to go into the verse about like women not having authority over a man or whatever. I think it's 1 Timothy 2:12 or it's 2 Timothy. I always confuse the two. Yeah, it's 1 Timothy 2:12. Don't permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. I thought for sure he's going to go there, but no, he went to don't divide a house. Well, here's the thing. People are still going to have opinions on things. Even if they can't vote, they're still going to think stuff, right? Like my kid is not 18, but currently has like political opinions. What do you mean a house can't be divided against itself? I can't believe he didn't go for 1 Timothy 2:12, but for the record, Paul was purported to have written 1 Timothy. This verse was not written by Paul. This was added later by somebody else. Jesus included women in his things, his goings on, his dealings. He didn't tell women you can't be involved in anything that we're doing or whatever. This was added later by somebody who didn't like the fact that women were involved in Christian ministry and stuff after Jesus died. So they added this to prevent women from being involved. They put these words on Paul's lips.
basic building block is not atomistic as individuals, but molecular, being households. The way that God sees humanity.
Okay, I don't know what atomistic or molecular or anything have to do with this, but I don't care. I think people should all have the right to, have opinion I think everybody should have the right to have their opinion and their voice heard in the country. Simple as that. And you know what? Like, I don't know where he thinks the Bible talks about molecular or atomistic whatever. I didn't think those terms existed in Bible times, but it doesn't really matter. Scientifically, just looking at statistics, when more people vote, when more people turn out, when more people are involved in the democracy, it ends better. As they say, democracies don't go to war with each other. It's not necessarily true, obviously, but it's a general rule of thumb. Canada is not going to war with France. It's not happening. England or the UK is not going to war with America. Democracies are superior to dictatorships for a plethora of reasons, but some of those reasons include better education, better literacy, better living conditions, less homelessness, less general suffering in society. Democracy is superior to dictatorship. I can't believe I have to say this. This guy has said explicitly that he wants a dictator. He said explicitly he wants somebody to come in, seize power, and force everybody to be Christian in the United States. Remove women's right to vote. In fact, actually, he said remove everybody's right to vote until he fixes the country and makes it a Christian nation again by force. And then he can reinstate an aristocracy where just a few people at the very top can control things. Again, not a nobody, just a complete nutcase.
sees humanity is he breaks them down to families.
So God breaks people down to families? What are you talking about? Like, everybody can come to can come to God through Jesus. That's what the Bible says. You trying to tell me women and children shouldn't be praying? They should be represented by the head of the household? What? What do you mean atomistic? Everybody is a child of God. Everybody is the same in the eyes of God. Where is he getting this? Is this not like heresy? If you believe in this kind of thing, isn't this heresy? This sounds like completely unbiblical to me.
So it's not just random individual atoms all bouncing around together and 350 million atoms bouncing together in one nation on one piece of land, but it's families. And so by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote. Right. There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice?
This is not how anything was constructed in the Bible. Well, in the New Testament. I don't know about the Old Testament. That's largely irrelevant to us today, right? Because Jesus is from the New Testament, and, as a Christian, you should be following Christ, and he fulfilled the old law. It's not necessary anymore. He erased a lot of things that were irrelevant from the Old Testament, and he completely rewrote an entirely new theology. So I don't know where he's getting all this stuff from the New Testament. Like, I don't see anything about that in there. And I don't see it in the Old Testament either, truthfully. I have no idea what he's going on about.
Women get their voice. Where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother. It's from their uncle.
So you're saying they don't have a voice, is what you're telling me. Now, just a minute ago, he said a household should not be divided against itself. Women shouldn't have a voice because a household shouldn't be divided. And now he's saying that women will have a voice through their husband. So which is it? Should they have a voice? Should they have representation or not? The answer in his mind, I would be willing to bet, is women shouldn't have a voice of any sort at all. But he's trying to soft pedal it, make it a little easier to digest by saying they will have a voice. It'll just be through somebody else. Just say what you mean. What are you up? Why are you pretending?
From their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother. It's from their uncle. It's the men in their lives that love them.
He's such a joke. Grow an apple bag and just tell us that you don't want women to have a voice of any sort. My God, bro. He has some other really weird positions on family, too. Like, oh my God, it's disturbing. Listen to this one. This is from late October 2024.
In a just society, adulterers would be punished as criminals, and in some cases, Calvin would probably argue in many or most cases.
Why is he soft pedaling? Why did you say in some? Lay it out for us. You're saying in all cases, what?
The penalty would be capital punishment.
So you're saying if somebody commits adultery, they will be put to death. In his ideal world, that's what would happen. What is wrong with this guy? What is knocking around up there to get him to these conclusions? This is psychotic.
In which case, divorce would not be necessary because there would not be a spouse left living to divorce.
Holy bro. Yeah, according to the Bible, he's about to talk about this a little bit, but I believe, according to Jehovah's Witnesses, I think that they're correct on this. I haven't really looked into it heavily, but I think the Bible position on this issue is women can get divorced. Oh God, there's a cat here. People can get divorced if there's adultery, if there's cheating. That's the only reason for divorce in the Bible. But separation is justified if, according to Jehovah's Witnesses, there is physical, willful non-support. So they can get a job, but they refuse to. Or they're not providing for the family otherwise. Spiritual, willful non-support. So they're trying to get you to stop going to meetings or the church services or whatever because they don't believe in it anymore. Or number 3, physical abuse. Those are the 3 reasons for separation, according to Jehovah's Witnesses. He's got a take on separation also. We'll hit it in a second. But what he's saying is there wouldn't be divorce in case of adultery because the person would just be dead. Oh my God, bro. Now listen to his take on separation.
And the third A is adultery, abandonment, abuse.
Adultery, abandonment, and abuse. So trying to transcribe that or whatever onto Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. Spiritual non-support, physical non-support, or abuse. So he's saying abandonment or abuse. I guess spiritual or physical non-support kind of falls into abandonment then, is what he's saying. And adultery shouldn't be grouped with those others. It's separate, I think, according to the Bible.
And historically, the church has always rejected that as a justifiable case for divorce because it's not in the Bible. Now, that said, what the Bible does allow for immediately is separation. The Bible does not subject women and children to physical threats of harm, but you can protect the women and children by separation, and that separation can be for a very long time. And in some cases, it can be indefinite if the man proves to continue to be a threat. There can be long-term or even indefinite separation, but the Bible doesn't allow for the justification of divorce, not for abuse.
That's absolutely psychotic. My mom was, abused terribly when I was little, and so was I, of course. And she kept, trying to leave and then going back. Probably partly because it's hard to leave somebody, especially an abuser, because they convince you that you're not worth anything. But it was also likely primarily because the elders in the congregation told her that she should go back to him, that they're married and they should live together as husband and wife. So she just kept on going back. The elders knew what he was doing, too. They knew for a fact what was happening, and they told her that anyway. So what happens if a woman is being abused and she tries to leave, but she can't prove that she was being abused exactly? What happens then in Webbon's world, I wonder? No need to wonder. We have an answer, actually. Doesn't translate one-to-one, but this is what he thinks should happen to false accusers, basically. Somebody who falsely accuses somebody of something.
And if that were to occur, and the just penalties were to be enforced, you, the false accuser, is now put to death, and that's a public death. It's a public sentence, publicly carried out. Then the citizens of these United States of America, you know what they would do? Hashtag Me Too would end real fast. How do you false accusing? Playing the victim when you're actually not? You know how to end that real fast? All you have to do is publicly execute a few women who have lied.
So the answer is, if she can't directly prove it, she's put to death. And even if she can prove it, if somebody has questions about it or whatever, she's put to death. And you know what? Even if they don't have questions, if it's obvious what's happening, she won't leave because she fears she might be put to death anyway. I mean, is he seeing the flaws in the system at all? I think that he knows which flaws there are. I think he knows there are flaws in the system, like glaring flaws. But I don't think he cares because he believes this to be like a biblical system or whatever, though it's not. A Christian system. I don't think it matters in his head. This is psychotic stuff, bro. Get help. This is insane. Tell me what you think about this guy in the comments. He's terrible. You know what? If you need one more thing to recognize that this guy is absolutely terrible, let me show you one more clip. Unrelated to this, but I just want to make sure that we have a full understanding of what kind of a moral monster he is.
Like, I walk around my neighborhood, and it's not that there are different shades of, white and brown. Who cares? No, it's like full, straight up Hindu garb at our neighborhood swimming pool that my daughter is asking. I'm trying to explain.
What does he think is Hindu garb exactly? Does he mean Indian dress, like traditional Indian dress? That's just racism. Is there some specific outfit that is specific to religious situations only in India? And if so, was somebody at the pool wearing those religion exclusive clothes? If not, he's just being a racist here, right?
She's like, and I don't even know what country I'm in my own neighborhood. I don't know where I am. It's, the number of when we go on a family walk, the number of Pakistani, Hindu.
Okay, why'd you mention Pakistani? Why does it matter if there are people from Pakistan in your area? Who cares? I thought it wasn't about race. Suddenly it's about race, huh? Oops.
The number of Pakistani, Hindu, all these different, not just ethnicities, but religions with visible religious
Not just ethnicities, you see.
outfits on. And, you know, the same thing like when we go to Costco, I'm like, where am I? You know, and so like it's rare. Like we'll go on a family walk and every now and then we'll pass by, you know, a white family.
It's rare to pass by a white family for him. Isn't the white population like 85% or something? Or 80%? 75.3%. There you go. It's rare for you. Where do you live? I live in New York City and I pass white people like all the time, white families. In fact, I live in Manhattan, the most diverse city in the world, I think. And I see white people all the time. What are you talking about?
That's a man and a woman and has more than one kid. And every time I see it, I'm like, I don't want to be this way.
Well, then don't be this way.
But I feel like this like small sense of relief. Like I see you. I'm glad you're one of my neighbors. Because at the end of the day, again, it's not about whiteness.
Well, it sounds like it is.
But at the end of the day, if things get rough, I don't know if my Hindu neighbor is going to fight to save the lives of my children.
Brother, why would anybody have to fight to save the lives of your children? What are you going on about right now? And also, why wouldn't your neighbor fight for your children? Like if there's a fire in your house or something, the right thing to do is for somebody to like go in and try to save a kid if they can, right? What do you mean? Like you think that everyone else is as racist as you. That's the problem. He thinks Indians view him the same way that he views Indians. And that freaks him out. That's the problem. I think I've solved it. Wow, man. Absolutely insane. So yeah, you need another reason to recognize what a complete moral monster this guy is. There you go. Let me know what you think in the comments.